to Let's Talk Show with Sophia Dhahabu. We still have Honorable Simon Mburu in our studios. So, Mhesh, karibu.
Asante sana.
So, last time we left it at, we were talking about church and politics. That was supposed to be our next conversation now. Now, do you think the church has taken a back seat when it comes to politics and campaigns?
Well, I cannot say that it has really taken a back seat, but it has to be more proactive. The church plays a very important role in our society when it comes to, being the moral compass and, helping people make the right decision.
Yeah.
So in this particular campaign season, it's very important for the church to come out and guide Kenyans and their congregants on the principles and the virtues they should be looking out for their next government, or the people who are going to be in the next government, because it's very important for them to play that guiding role. Tell people what to watch out for, tell people what to look out for, and also preach the message of peace, because elections in Kenya tend to be quite heated, and we do not want to go back to where we were in 2007. So it's very important that that message of peace is emphasized. Yeah. So
you agree that do you think, or do you agree with the fact that a nation cannot be governed without the Bible?
Wow.
The principles from the Bible.
It wouldn't be wise for me to put everybody in the Christian umbrella. I'm a born-again Christian, but I also respect the fact that there's freedom of worship. You can worship any other God apart from the Christian God. But there are principles that we should all live by. Like treating each other with brotherly respect. Just because we support different candidates for, let's say, the presidential election, does not mean that we should hate each other. It just means that we disagree, and we disagree on principle. And it's okay to disagree, but we have to do it in a mature way. You go exercise your right on the 9th of August, and I go and exercise my right on the 9th of August, and whoever will win the election and will be our president, and we have to respect that. Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned about exercising your
right.
Your right. So are you voting, and who are you voting
definitely. First of all, I'm voting for myself.
Wow, okay.
But I know I've been asked that question before on who's my favorite presidential candidate. And I can confidently say for a fact that a good percentage of Kikuyu constituency is pro-Ruto, especially the young people. But also a very good percentage of the elderly generation are pro-Raila.
Yeah.
So I take an independent stand on this.
Okay.
I just hope that Kenyans make the right decision. Okay. But whoever will win the presidency will be my president, and I will work with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You talked about church, and there is a bill I saw one Jacoya say that he will bring to pass if he is elected.
Yeah.
He said about church, every pastor is going to have a degree to establish a church.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I know that's a hot topic.
Yeah.
But also it's very important for me to insist on the fact that we should start embracing academic qualifications in this country.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good pastors out there, but there are a lot of bad pastors out there who are selling delusions. And we need to be able to call them out, right? So on insisting that preachers get degrees in theology, it's a noble thing. But we wouldn't want to lock anybody out and say that you will not be able to practice your art in preaching because you do not have a degree, but we will encourage that you at least go to a reputable institution and get a degree, because you are feeding the flock, right? And it's something quite heavy, not just in the eyes of the government, but also in the eyes of God.
I think it's important. I think it's really important that preachers just get educated. In however degree you're gonna go to, whatever, whether diploma, certificate. I just think that we don't have to. My thought though, we don't have to put it at degree. Because there are people that won't be able to get to that place. But they're able to get to a certificate level. They literally even don't have time to take 2-3 years to get a degree.
I can say one of the things that I'm uncomfortable with when it comes to churches is they have taken a back seat when it comes to dealing with societal problems. I expect churches to be much more proactive in helping the poor, right? So we shouldn't be seeing so many needy families in the streets of Nairobi, yet we have mega churches in Kenya. We have mega churches in Nairobi.
But honestly, is that the work of the church?
Yes, it's a work of the church. It's actually a God-given responsibility to the church to take care of the less...
To the church?
Yes, to take care of the less fortunate in society. It's not just a government problem. It is partly a government problem, but it is also a societal problem. And if it is a societal problem, then the church should be much more proactive. I think, and then, think about it. Who is the church? It's you and I. So if we see a fellow brother and sister in the streets of Nairobi without a meal, we should be moved to help. If we see our brothers and sisters in Turkana who are dying of hunger, we should be moved to help. All right? But not staying silent. So.
Good. But do you think the young leaders right now are embraced by the church?
I can say the church has really been supportive of upcoming young people in leadership, especially in government. But also, I can say that sometimes we as politicians are not viewed as Christians. And that's a problem. So you walk into a church, you're a mheshimiwa, you're not an ordinary Christian who's interested in prayer and fasting and the scripture. And I think that's one thing that I've had a personal difficulties with, because I'm a born-again Christian, so churches don't just invite politicians when you're interested in a fundraising. Invite politicians even when you have a prayer breakfast.
My problem would be, why is a politician being invited in church in the first place? It should be your church is an open space. Do I have to invite you to come to church? This is the house of God. If we wait, I think, Mahesh, I understand where you're coming from. But if we wait for people to get that invitation, you'll only be getting that invitation when we have a big thing going on. So that time we have intercessory prayer, we have fellowship, we have all that. You won't come.
The reason why I insist on invitation is because when you run for a position like Member of Parliament, you have to be open to working with different people from different backgrounds who observe different doctrines. So I might not be Catholic, but I want to work with the Catholic Church. I might not prescribe to an Anglican church, but I want to work with you. I might not prescribe to the Pentecostal church, but I want to work with you. So that's where the invitation comes in, because I might be going to a specific church, but I don't know what's happening in your home church. So if you extend the courtesy of telling me, okay, good, we have a prayer breakfast next Sunday, you can come, I will be there. All right.
But then okay, what you said makes sense now, but that then puts us to a place where you have to have a home. Like, this is your church, I'm an Anglican, I go to this church, but once I'm invited to these other churches, it means that I'll accept the invitation. But you have a home.
because of the Christian foundation, or the Christian foundation that I have, insist on having a community of believers around you. So personally, I fellowship at the Parklands Baptist Church. That's my community, all right? And I have friends who will hold me to account if I, say something that they completely disagree with, or I do something that they completely disagree with. They're gonna call me, call me aside and say, okay, Simon, we disagree. This is not supposed to, you're not supposed to act like this. So it's important to have a home, but also when you run for a position like member of parliament or governor or senator or even president, you have to be open to working with everyone, and not just the Christian community, but also the Muslim community, because they're part and parcel of this country. So my principle here is treat each and every person like a brother or sister, right? And also that's the command that you've been given by Christ, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Let's talk about, let's say somebody that has been a member of Parliament of Kikuyu for a very long time, and yourself. Do you think the church accommodates the youth now, the upcoming generation, or we are fixated, the church is fixated at the older generation? Does the church have hope with the young people?
To be honest, and I know this one will be a shocker, I feel there's a very huge gap when it comes to approaching the young generation. So many churches don't seem to get it right. That, we raise kids through Sunday school, but once they get to high school, they stop attending church. All right? So churches need to be very proactive in approaching young people and, listen to them. Not just preach to them, but also listen to them, because there's so many young people who are having a hard time out there with drug addiction. Like, one of the things that I really want to do is work with the church, because one key problem that we have in Kikuyu constituency is alcoholism. And I know for you to overcome that drug addiction, there must be a spiritual element to it. So I have to work with the churches. I have to work with each and every church and come up with Alcoholic Anonymous programs, so that I don't walk in the streets of Kikuyu and see so many young people who are, suffering from drug addiction or alcoholism. The church is quite important in a modern day society.
Okay. And I would want to hear, do you think pastors, bishops should be vying for
elective positions?
Yes.
That I can say is a personal decision, but politics and church do not gel very well. And the reason politics and church do not gel very well is because politics is very combative. And as a pastor or as a bishop, you're not supposed to be taking up that combative role of saying...
Why?
Take for example, if you are a pastor and if you're a bishop, your God-given responsibility is to feed the flock, tend to the flock. That's the God-given responsibility. But when you cross over to this other side...
But these people are the flock as well.
Yeah, but...
The people you're trying to... Okay, I believe a pastor is not just a pastor to the building. I believe she can, or one person, or they can pastor Nairobi. You can pastor Kikuyu. But in a very different way.
What about the Muslim community?
Yeah, as well.
What about the Hindu community?
As well.
Exactly. You need to strike a balance of knowing that when you sit in that position, you're not wearing the Christian hat per se. You are a Kenyan who has been elected by Kenyans to represent their interest, whether or not they differ with your own Christian principles. So I think it's a very difficult place to be. I wouldn't want to be in a position where I'm a bishop and I'm running for office. I wouldn't want to be there, because I'll be practically serving two masters. You're serving the people on one end, and you're trying to serve God on this other end, and it's so difficult.
But let me ask, you just said that you are a Christian right now, right?
Yeah.
You are serving God in your own capacity. Yeah. And still serving the people. It's still the same way.
It's not the same, because for me, it's a personal decision. For them,
it's a calling.
It has gone past the personal decision. It's now God will hold you to account for every single thing that you do. You know, think about it.
Does it just say that He will hold the bishops, the pastors, the what? But it also says, I think it says, everyone will be held accountable to everything they do.
Yeah, but the sword will strike much more harder on pastors who do not do the right thing.
Which is true.
Yes.
But my point is, my question would be, at the end of the day, Your Excellency, you are still Simon, right? You are, when you go home, you don't remain to be Honorable Simon.
Yeah.
You put aside your heart and remain to be Simon.
Yeah.
What if this person that is vying, and okay, honestly, I think the problem with my country right now, we don't have the church running.
You know, a couple of years ago, a few men got the wisdom of knowing that it's very important for us to split church and government. For a reason. It's very important to separate those two. And when you are a church leader, a pastor, a reverend, and a bishop, and you run for office, it's going to be difficult, because there are things the people will want you to do that don't necessarily subscribe to your Christian principles. All right? And you have to navigate that with a lot of wisdom. If you are going to be a pastor or a bishop, stick to feeding the flock. If you want to get into leadership, just know it's going to be a bit tricky.
Can I ask a crazy question? If you were in Nairobi, who would you vote for?
My favorite.
I really want to get you on something, guys. I have to.
Oh my God! Okay, my favorite governor. I'm not voting in Nairobi, but my favorite governor is Sakaja. Okay. I think when he was senator of Nairobi, he was way above reproach. Okay. And I think he would serve the residents of Nairobi very well. If I flip over to my side here in Kiambu, that becomes very tricky, because Kiambu, we have very interesting men who are running. We still have the former governor Kavogo, we have Moses Kuria, we have Wamatangi, and we have Jungle. So I wouldn't want to really insist on who is my favorite in Kiambu, but because I'm not voting in Nairobi, I know Sakaja is my favorite in Nairobi.
Have we ever elected a bishop, a pastor, whatever? Have we ever?
I am uncomfortable with that decision.
Have we ever? No, have we ever though?
Church is a very delicate affair. It's quite delicate. And again, I wouldn't want to be in a position where I am facing God on one hand, who commanded me to feed the flock, and then I'm facing the people.
We face God every day.
On the other hand, and they want me to do something that is completely different. I don't know. I don't know which example I can give that can be okay. Good. Let's talk about the institution of marriage. All right, the institution of marriage has been under attack.
Yeah. For
the past couple of years, especially in government.
Yeah.
The Christian view is that, you know, it's one man, one woman. That's a marriage. If you go to the Constitution, it's something completely different.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, and I observe, you know, the view that it should be one man, one woman. But the Constitution says something completely different. So put yourself in that shoe as a bishop, all right? And you're a sitting member of parliament. And on one hand, you have what Scripture says marriage should be. And on the other hand, you have what the Constitution says marriage should be. These are two conflicting roles, all right? And you absolutely need wisdom over, above, and beyond to be able to judge which is right and which is wrong. and you are representing people in government who might not be subscribing to Christianity. So again, I wouldn't want to be in that position. I honestly wouldn't want to be in that position.
Guys, you wouldn't want to be in that position as well. Now, as we wind up, allow me to ask, are you treated differently because you are born again?
Well, I don't go out there and say that I'm a born again Christian. I let it, come out naturally. I've never been the kind of guy who says I'm a born again Christian in the intro. I think if I am truly a born again Christian, you're going to sense it with the way that I approach things. So am I treated differently? I can say that I am treated differently. I try as much as possible to command respect wherever I go. So yeah.
Now, should church take sides? Like, for instance, we've seen prophets prophesying one side, another kind of people prophesying one side.
Well, you've decided to. Okay. Let me see. I respect the responsibility that has been given to the Christian community, and I respect the role of prophets, but I also understand that they are false prophets. My stand on this particular issue is the church should not take sides. Nobody should come and say that God told me that so and so will become the next president. I think you will be really pretty much interfering with the democratic environment, because you've already declared that there's a superior being who has, in his own wisdom, declared this particular individual will be president. I think it's wiser and much more safer to wait for Kenyans to vote and let the winner be declared, and let the church bless the one who will be declared president. I think that's a much more better position than an individual saying, God told me. Yeah.
Okay.
So the church should not be taking sides.
But the church should advise.
It should advise. It should advise based on principles and based on virtues. Your role is to guide.
Okay, so
right.
let me try and maybe rephrase the question. For instance, what if God is trying to take the nation of Kenya to a whole new level, right? And God has just said it to the prophets or to a prophet. I think the church should say the mind of God concerning the nation of Kenya.
But who knows the mind of God?
I mean, God reveals his mind to everybody. The fact that you don't...
I think there's a scripture that says, my ways are not your ways, and, my thoughts are not your thoughts. If God wanted to take Kenya in a different direction, he will. And that's not dependent upon people.
But he will say it because God is not a dictator.
This is very difficult. It's a very difficult season. It's a very difficult season. It's a very difficult season because of the general election. And I don't think that God is limited to a particular event of the year. If he wants us to take a particular direction, he will guide us in that particular direction. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try and get Honorable Simon Mburu next time, but Mahesh,
yes.
Please give us your parting shots.
Parting shots. One, it's the responsibility of every single Kenyan to get out on election day and vote. And I'm calling upon every single Kenyan, not just the older generation, but also the young generation, especially the young generation. It's important for us to get our voices heard. And we can only get our voices heard if we, on that election day, we show up. We have 6 ballot papers to choose from. You might be uncomfortable with the presidential candidate, but you still have 5 other ballots to choose from. So kindly, please don't stay at home. This is a do or die moment for us.
Yeah.
We are the 77% of Africa's population.
Yeah.
We are over 75% of Kenya's population, and our voices should be heard. Let us not be the minority in parliament. Let us be the majority. Yes.
Okay, I was also expecting you to tell them to vote for you.
Oh yeah. And if you are a voter in Kikuyu constituency, kindly vote for me. My manifesto, I've shared my manifesto online on my Facebook page, Simon Mburu, MP Kikuyu constituency. I have several manifesto points that I know they will reach out to you.
Yeah.
This time round, let us vote in a young generation with ideas and people who are willing to push Kikuyu constituency to the next level. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Wherever you're watching us from, share this video, share, tag somebody, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.